Hi, we're going to make a large unicorn inspired flower. So the first thing you want to do is cut all your pieces. And this I purchased on Etsy, and I did chop off a little bit of the bottom. And then for the back, I just took this shape, I duplicated it, and I filled it in with shape so I had a solid background. And then I cut it on glitter cardstock from Michaels. And then we're just going to flip it over and add some glue. So you can use your favorite craft glue. So we're going to do this first to allow it to dry. Even though the glue dries very quickly, I like to do this part first. And I don't use hot glue for this part because I don't want it to have any lumps. Just make sure it's adhered. And again, this one dries clear. This is from Amazon. I do use Bearly Arts, and I also have this as well. It's a PVA glue, so it dries clear and it's still flexible. I just want to make sure everything is glued down. And we're just going to set that aside then to allow that to dry till we're ready to assemble everything else. Okay, so we're going to need a 7-inch hexagon base. And then we're using the Elizabeth large flower template. And the flower center one, which is 3 inches. So we're going to set everything else aside, and we're going to assemble our petals. So you're going to cut 12 of them, a petal 9, which is 5.5 inches high. And we're going to separate them 6 because each layer is 6 petals. And now we're going to roll the petals back using a dowel rod. So I take 2 at a time. I do not do more than 2. And just on the side, I lay it down on my mat like that. Lift them up and roll them in. Flip it over the other side so they're being rolled under, but it's easier if we roll them up when we flip it over. Okay, so we're just going to stack them and go to the next 2. Use your dowel rod. Oh, I have glitter from cutting the glitter cardstock. Flip them over. And then we have our next 6, which are still a petal 9, which is 5.5 inches high. You're also going to cut 6 of petal 8, which is 5 inches high, and 6 of petal 7, which is 4.5 inches high. And we're going to roll all of them with the dowel rod. So I'll be back once we have all that done. And I use 2 different sizes. They're very similar, but I could probably have used one size for all of them. all your petals are styled. Now we're going to cut up the center of each of them. So I'll go through each of the cuts and I'll do one of each, and then I'll keep making them and we'll be back. Okay, so the first 6 we're going to cut at 3 inches. So just take your ruler, kind of go in the center and make a mark. You're not going to see them because we're on the back of the petal. Take your scissors and just cut up the center, and you can do all 6 at once. The next 6, which is still petal 9, we're going to cut up 2.5 inches. So the less we cut up, the more the petal's going to stand up. Okay, now this is petal 8, and we're going to cut this 2 inches up the center. So again, take your ruler, go to the 2-inch mark, make your mark. And then our last 6 is petal 7. We're cutting 1.5 inches. Keep them stacked tightly and then just cut up the center, oops, the best you can, as close to the center as possible. Now let's flip them over so we don't forget which direction. And for each of them, I like to put my fingers in between to separate the 2 sides of the petal. And you're just going to add a little bit of glue down the petal. Lift the right side up and over, and it overlaps. So it lifts the petal up off the ground. So we'll do 1 of each pile. So again, separate the petals, do your line of glue, lift up and over, and as our cut gets shorter, our petals are lifting more up. And I always keep them stacked in the order that we're going to assemble them. Lift it up and over and press. And then our last petal size. Again, I separate it, usually with my middle finger. Do a little bit of line of glue. Lift it up and over. And because this one's only cut 1.5 inches, it's standing pretty far up off the table. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing all of those. Petals are assembled, we're going to put them down and create our flower. So we're going to use our ruler and we're going to make our marks on the base to make it easier to line up the petals as we glue them down. So for the first layer, you're going to come in on one of the sides and we're going to do 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the 3 mark. 4. I'm going to do 1.5, and then I know my second layer I'm going to do even, and then my third layer I'm going to do 1/2 inch in, and the next layer 1/2 inch. So I just made all 3 marks just to make it easier for me. Rotate it, and then we're going to do 1.5 inches, 1/2, and 1/2. 1.5, half, and half. One and a half, half, and half. And again, 1.5, half, and half. I just like to do them all at once. It makes it a lot easier for me, or else you can use a flexible ruler and bend it in the center. So either or, I've done both. But since I know how far we're coming in, I made my marks right away for us. Okay, so you're going to take your first petal, which is your largest. So I always stack layer 1, layer 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to use a bigger, wider glue gun. And we're going to add some glue. So we're coming in 1.5 inches on the base. So look for your petal, place it in the middle, and bring it up to the line and press. And then rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add glue to your next petal. Go to the center here and bring it into the line. And press down. And rotate to the left. Oops. So again, go to the middle and bring it up to the line and press. So you can see we cut pretty far up the petal, so my petals aren't lifted too much off the table. So again, the further up you cut the petal up the center, the flatter it's going to lay. So then you can take into consideration how wide your flower is going to be. Go to the middle of the side of the hexagon and bring it into this up to your line. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. We're adding the glue. Go to the center and bring it up to your line. Rotate to the left. And there we have layer 1 done. Okay, so layer 2, we're going to rotate it slightly so that layer 1 petals here are directly at the top here in front of us. Go to our stack of petals. Remember, these are the same height petal, but we cut less up the center by 1/2 inch, so they're going to sit up a little bit further. So though we're going at the same height, they're lifted up a little bit. Okay. So we just add a little bit of glue down here to the bottom. I just go in between them and bring it right up to the edge of their petals. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise, and again, layer 1 petals are right here in the center where I'm standing. Add your glue. Go in between layer 1 petals and bring it right up to the line here. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. So again, layer 1 petals are here. I'm adding glue. I go in between them and right up to their edge. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. in between them and right up to their edge. Rotate to the left. In between and right up to the edge. So you can see they're right along the edge, forming a circle. And we rotated to the left or counterclockwise. In between petals of layer 1 and right up to the edge of those petals. Okay, so now we're going to rotate again just slightly. And now layers 1, 3, 5, like the odd numbers, are all lined up. And then the even layers are all lined up. So we're going to take our next file. So they're smaller now by 1/2 inch. And remember, we made our 1/2 inch mark. So we're going to add our glue. I'm in 1/2 inch. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add your glue. Go in between the layers of petal 2 and it's lined up with layer 1. So line it up with layer 1 and bring it into that line and press. Rotate to the left. Line it up with layer 1 right here, in between the petals of layer 2, right up to your line. Rotate to the left. Line it up with layer 1 in between the petals and up toward your line. Rotate to your left. And our last petal of layer 3. And look at that, you already have 3 layers done. Line it up with layer 1 and bring it up to your line. Okay, rotate again slightly to the left, and now we're going to line up with layer 2, but in between the petals of layer 3. So it's a smaller petal, and it's standing up a lot more. So line it up with layer 2 and bring it up to our line. Rotate to the left. Add your glue. Line it up with layer 2 and bring it into your line. So you can see 2 and 4 are the same, 1 and 3. So you're always lining up and in between the petals. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. So the hexagon shape really helps us guide to make a perfect nice shape. So line it up with layer 2 in between the petals of layer 3 and press down at our line. Line it up with layer 2 and into our line. Rotate. And we have one more petal. Okay, now that our flower is assembled, we just need our center. So we cut that. Was our 3-inch paper flower center 1. And we're just going to bend a few of them up. Then just go around the edge. So it'll give it a nice puffy look. So we're going to add our glue. Watch your fingers. And then press down in the center. Try and get it right in the center. And now our flower is done. And remember we had our topper assembled. So we're going to take our 10-inch base. So this is a cardboard cake stand, a cake circle. And we're just going to adhere them. A little hard to get it on camera, I apologize. So I want to have a nice size, probably, let me measure that. It's almost 2 3/4 inches down where it covers, gives it a nice mark. Now I'm just gonna make sure it's even in there. Now we do need room for our flowers, so don't forget that. So how about we make those just to make sure. This is Template 5 mini flower. And all 3 colors are going to be assembled and created the same way. So we're just going to roll them, put the dowel rod down in the middle of the petal, bend it around and roll. Pinch and roll. Thumb on the right, index finger underneath, and you just lift it up and roll. Dowel rod down, thumb on top, index finger underneath, pinch and roll. So they're all rolled up. So I did 3 at a larger size and then 4 at a smaller. So again, we're going to take our next 3. It's a little bit wider flower, so if you can't get it all in one roll, it's okay. Just come in from the left and roll it up. So I'm doing all 3 at once. If you're newer, you may not want to do all 3 at once. Okay, now we're going to take our flower shaping mat. We set all 3 down. The first one we're not going to roll, and we're going to use a metal ball stylus and roll the center of the other 2. Add a little bit of glue. And now we're going to look for a petal and place it in between. Try and stand directly over top and then press down. You can always stir it with your metal ball stylus to make sure it adheres. Look for a petal. I rotate, stand directly over top, and just take it right down in between the petals of the previous layer. And then you can stir it to make sure it adheres. And then the center comes with the Elizabeth flower, or I'm sorry, Template 5 mini flower. And we're just going to roll it a little. Add our glue, just in a circle on the back. And place it in the center there. Such a fun center. Okay, so we're going to do that with the other two. Three larger petals, our flowers are done. We're going to do the same with the smaller ones. So there's a blue, and these are more filler to fill in between in case we need it. Two purple and a pink. Because we're going to line it up with blue, purple, pink in the center. So we're going to do the exact same thing but on a smaller scale. So grab your dowel rod, place it down in the middle of the petal, pinch up and roll along your index finger. So pinch and roll down in the middle, so hold it, thumb, index finger underneath, pinch it up and roll. And you can do all three once you get the hang of it. And then we're going to do the same exact thing. The bottom one, we want it a little bit flatter, so we don't roll the center. We're going to use a smaller metal ball stylus and then roll the other two centers. So rolling the center with the metal ball stylus is similar to cutting up the center of our large paper flowers. It helps lift the petals up. So we're just adding glue and placing them in between the previous layers petals. And then we're going to roll the center again. Add some hot glue. And press it in there. So there's our, it's like a little 2 inches roughly. So we'll just set it there with our larger one, and I'm going to continue with the rest of them. to assemble our unicorn. I'm just going to move everything out of the way. Okay. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a mark. So I kind of know how far up to glue my unicorn head. So it's just a light, faint line just so I can kind of see. And I want to make sure I'm in the middle, which I don't think I was. I could have actually done it on the back as well. So with hot glue, it dries super fast. So now that we know that's adhered, I'm going to glue my flower on. So I kind of have to lift it up, I apologize. See? So we need some room. I'm just going to add a whole bunch of glue to my base. Get that flower on there before it dries. So we will have room, I know it's hard to see, around here, and that's why we did the smaller flowers to fill it in. So use your best judgment of where to place your large flower. So in the middle, we're going to do purple. So I'm going to add some glue. Right to the back of the flower, and then we're going to go right in the middle. And then press. Okay, now we have the pink is on the right side. So we're going to add our glue. Okay. And now the blue. And I have to hold it up so I can kind of judge. If they're even or not. I'm going to add purple. Okay, so purple's gonna go on the side here, as you can see that's open. You can see that over there. And now I'm going to do a purple over here. Might not need our other ones. It all depends. I'm just going to hold it up so I can judge. I'm going to place mine in between. Not that you can really see. Every flower is different. You don't really see it too much, but I added it right in there. And we're going to do the same for the blue. Oh, that adhered really fast. Okay. And then there's our unicorn. Super hard to see fully on the camera, but you can get the gist of it. Super cute.